Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new stream. Today I'm going to be doing a review of the Honeycomb Aeronautical Yoke. Since I can't set up my cameras correctly, I had the choice of a webcam which could be plugged into the PC, or I could just slip a picture of the yoke onto the screen and demonstrate it in flight. It is a very high quality yoke though, and it seems to be more in cost than the Boeing yoke, so if you want the Boeing yoke and throttle, is going to cost less than the honeycomb yoke and throttle together. But I think that's good. Honeycomb, the material itself it doesn't feel quite plastic. It doesn't feel quite like rubber either. It's high quality material, solid sturdy design, clamped to the desk with 9 switches for various things included masters, avionics and lights, and then on the right side, as you can see from the picture, just under the right side of the yoke you have a switch which goes to all the way to start for ignition, and that's the magnetos of course. The yoke itself is actually better than a lot I've seen on the market. Obviously there's the feel and the design and the look of it. It looks like a high-end yoke, but it's also the fact that it's got a 180 degree bank angles. You can bank entirely to the left and entirely to the right. Now, I do have an option for the camera, but again, I'm not sure if I should put it on because I have to use the PC's camera's hardware, and the Prism software for some reason won't let you connect cameras, unlike OBS, I think it is. So anyway, we're going to try this out. It has a good range of motion. The lateral movement and the turning is good. There's a bit of resistance, but it feels quite realistic. But when it comes to the vertical navigation stuff, increasing or pulling up and pushing down the aircraft, it feels difficult. There's a resistance there. The hat switches are good. You can look around all the way around, that is, with the switch on the left hand side, as you can see there. Now, usually on a real plane that would actually be the trim wheel, the trim button, so you could always change that to the trim button because it looks very much like a jet trim button. Anyway, underneath that you have like a hat switch of some kind, and that is the actual trim button, and then the white ones on either side are for flaps, pre-programmed. Now they've put the autopilot disconnect red button on the right side. A strange design choice, I have to say, although to be fair, the hat switch on the left, if that had in fact been the trim rather than the view button, they could have simply removed the actual trim button and put the autopilot disconnect there. Anyway, there's a free button under the left side of the yoke, on the left hand side, underneath the back of it, a white button, and that's available to program. I've pre-programmed it to brake since I've not got the rudders yet, so obviously I need to be able to stop the plane. I still need to reach over to my keyboard, and it does take up quite a bit of space on the desk, so lengthwise you're looking at about over a foot long, just for the unit itself, and then you've got obviously the additional length of the yoke extending out, so that's probably going to set you back a foot and a half, I'd say, at least, maybe even pushing on 2 feet almost. So quite a bit of room, and then lengthwise, it's probably about a foot long, width, sorry, so a foot width. A nice honeycomb design. It says honeycomb on it. They've gone for the actual honeycomb shapes. The light that lights up is red. I don't know if it's on the picture, but you can see, actually you can see it on the picture. You have a red glow in the back which can be controlled with a button on the back of the unit. Now that picture's actually pretty good, so I don't think I need to show you on camera. I mean, the camera would be only useful if I was to show you the movement, and I'm still going to show you that in the aircraft. Anyway, going back to the yoke, I do think this is one of the best yokes I've seen on the internet, and it's certainly going to make my experience in the flight sim a lot better. It already has. The only problem is that the switches don't seem to function in all the aircraft, so it seems to be pre-programmed for the Cessna only. And even then, the avionics bus 2 switch doesn't function in the Cessna. Tried it in the Baron. Now the Baron, it does work, switches work in there, but then you've got a strange thing going on with the rudder. I had to reset the controls, and it helped on the Cessna and the other planes a little bit, but on the Baron I haven't checked it. So what we're going to do, we're going to try the Citation first, After the Citation, we're going to go back into the Baron after we got to East Midlands, and we'll try it in the Baron. And I'll show you that rudder shaking about thing. Obviously, I'll calibrate the controls first. Do be aware, you do have to download software. I downloaded it, and there was no choice to customize controls. It just downloaded it, and nothing happened. I loaded it up, and I loaded it up and calibrated and got into it pretty much straight away. So the controls, the ailerons, I don't know if you can see them moving. Maybe you can. But the ailerons in the elevator, the ailerons are going to control the rudder at the same time. I tried it on the 737, so I don't think it works with that because you would need rudder pedals for the control of the nose. It works for the rudder control for a certain amount, and then on takeoff, if you go over a certain speed, the rudder control completely goes, and you'll go all over the place. So I think it will only be functional with the rudder pedals realistically. But to be fair, I'm more interested, and you're going to find this surprising, but I am more interested in GA and small jets than I am in the big jets. You'll notice I fly a lot of the Citations. I have flown the Citation 2 before on this channel, the one that I did on Flight Gear. That was a very good model. I may go back and do another stream on that. I'm kind of on the fence, so if you want to see that, let me know. It'll be the Citation 2. It's a very, very simple model, but again, Flight Gear is very old looking game, but it's still pretty good. Free to use as well. So yeah, going back to Honeycomb, the logo is slapped right in the front of the yoke. The yoke itself, as you can see in the picture, is very thin, and that's why I prefer it to the Boeing yoke, because it looks more like a small jet yoke. In fact, the yoke looks like it's suited for GA and small jets, and it doesn't look like it's suitable for an airliner. But that's normal, I think, for this kind of design. So yeah, you want the Citation jet yoke, then go for the Honeycomb. If you want the Boeing yoke, of course, go for the Boeing yoke. Boeing yoke is cheaper. It doesn't surprise me. The Honeycomb costs more. It looks like quite a high brand, a high expensive brand, if that makes sense. The logo looks very good. The design and the material is steady, sturdy, high quality. They've done a damn good job of it, of the actual exterior model. And I actually found it interesting because the Honeycomb, it seems to be like an aviation thing. Maybe it isn't. Maybe people just like bees. But the Honeycomb reference and the bee reference reminded me of, of course, Honeywell, which is in fact a well-known aircraft avionics brand. And if you know anything about the avionics Honeywell, you know they're used in all kinds of aircraft, from small piston aircraft to the airliners. Right, we're going to hop ahead. We got a pretty far along VATSIM. We're going from Teesside to East Midlands VFR. Now, estimated flight time is only 33 minutes, so that's going to give us a lot of time to do a control check. In other words, we're going to put this control to the test. We're going to be performing some turns, steep turns, rapid climbs, descents, and we're going to test how realistic it is. Now, just based on what I've experienced so far, it is pretty realistic. That force you get when you are trying to push and pull the yoke is exactly what you would expect to find in a real plane. And the force for the ailerons is also similar, but one thing that popped out on when I deliberately tried to stall was that I felt the controls becoming sluggish, and I did feel those controls changing and the airflow changing over the wings. I don't know if that's actually programmed in or if it's just me in my imagination, but it certainly felt like there was an impact there on the controls. So highly realistic design by Honeycomb. So let's hop in the cockpit. Let's get started on the Citation X. As you can see, the checklist's up. So for the sake of speed, we're going to get rid of the checklist today, and we're going to just do this by hand. So let's just skip all the preliminaries and let's get straight into it. Let's get all the systems on. Initialize position. I'm going to do the checklist as accurately as possible without skipping anything. As you can see, I'm skipping ahead a few steps, but that's absolutely normal. And it is relatively dark today. Teesside in the north, so we may need extra lights. Get that down to 16 degrees. Let's hope the passengers don't moan about it. One of the pains of having a manually controlled ecosystem. Ecosystem being the air conditioning system, that is. Right. Probably do need the window heat. It looks miserable outside, but it's 18 degrees, so that's not too bad. And we have a recall available for the navigational list today, so flight plan select. Flight plan list, there we go. To remember which airport we're at, and we're going down to Midlands, so there it is. November Victor's Teesside. Very cool airport, by the way. Because we're VFR, I don't think we've got to worry too much about SIDS and stars. I don't even think SimBrief's given us one. But the control yoke's really going to be put to the test in the taxis and in the takeoff, of course. So we're going direct to Glasgow, so we've not got a departure. And when we arrive, we do in fact have an arrival there. We have a star, it seems, programmed in. Well, on VFR, I'm hoping we can just do it without it. So let's go ahead and get notes up. Direct to Glasgow, and then we want arrival Croft. 1 Echo. Runway 27. We're taking off runway 23. Two, 3, 2, 7. If you are considering purchasing a yoke, my advice is don't always go for the bone. Don't just go for the bone yoke because everyone talks about it and says it's one of the best. Because the fact is, you know, the Honeycomb yoke to me is definitely one of the highest quality models I've seen, and it's certainly one of the best I've used. To be honest, because I've tried the bone, I have seen the bone yoke, and I've only seen it and touched it. I haven't properly used it on a simulator, if that makes sense. I saw it in the shop, so I didn't have a chance to try it out. Kind of bad, really. I should do a full review of it if I get a chance, but that'll be in probably be in a shop rather than at home. Okay, who are we today? So it's Citation 4 Golf Tango Golf, I think, according to SimBrief. Charlie 4 Tango Golf. Classic call sign for the C750. Okay, we're already on Unicom. What do we need to do? So we need to get a bit of preliminary checks done, don't we, for takeoff. Lateral navigation, flight change. 180. And we'll set minimums in Q and H. No one online? Surprise, surprise. Although it is a Friday. Happy Friday, everyone. 10 to 1. 1021. 1 to 0. 2. And so you notice this in inches. I've been practicing with the yoke over in the States. I am going to do a video or a stream. I'll probably stream because I do mostly streams in the States soon, so that's going to be very interesting. Flying in some of those old airports I used to fly in on the East Coast, West Coast, sorry, not the East Coast. Or it may be the East Coast. I'm not American, I don't know. Right, anyway, normal. Emergency lights should have been on by now, and so should standby power. That's my mistake. I think we're pretty much ready to start. So we click there, and then we wait for 10% on the N2. Should do it really right to left. We're doing the second one first. When N2 reaches 60%, we're about to turn number 2 on, or number 1 on, which is the right side. Anyway, the yoke has actually not spawned in because we've got... Well, it hasn't been spawning in occasionally. I turned it off, but sometimes it won't because we got the yoke. But as you can see, I'm literally putting out a little bit. I'm not barely moving my yoke. I'm putting a tiny amount of touch on it, and there's a tiny dead zone, but it's absolutely minuscule. As you can see, it's very, very responsive. And there we go. We've got a 180-degree turn to the right and to the left. Even the elevator responsiveness is good, although I've noticed with the elevator you do have a bigger dead zone. Just be aware of that. Again, I think that's realistic to planes, although my experience wouldn't be in the Citation X anyway. Right, 60%, let's get rid of it. For the sake of reality, like the trim on the yoke, I have honeycomb functions, as you can see. You'll see the trim is moving there as I move it. It's difficult to use, so you do have to bring your hand quite a way around the control to push it properly. You've got 2 switches there, so if you don't push two of them at once, it won't connect the trim properly and it won't move it. But when I move it, it doesn't move on the yoke there. So I'm going to get rid of the yoke, because we've built our own today. And that'll make it a little bit more realistic. So we're going to close the door. Just bearing in mind we have the hat switch to look around. Let me show you. So it's very smooth. It gives you that sense of realism, because then you can use your right hand to click things rather than, you know, if you're doing that all the time, it's going to make you a little bit dizzy, isn't it? And I still have to use the keyboard for thrust and things, but I pre-programmed it in. Right, pitot statics. For the sake of keeping it simple, I'm going to keep them off until we get to the runway. How's the engine doing? So we can stick ground, idle, high. And I've got a flap switch on the control column as well. So flaps to 5. I have pre-programmed the brakes. We didn't toggle the brakes, we didn't do the rotary test. Let's just quickly do the rotary test. And of course, accidentally pushing the brakes. Anyway, there's a fire test. The rotary test is important. You should really do it before you get the engine started. Stall warning. Annunciation is great, it lights up everything. If you remember the last stream I did, I talked about, when I flew to Corfu, I talked about the Microsoft Flight Simulator having the new edition of a brand new, highly detailed Citation X coming to it for the 10th of July, so 6 days time. Also, if you're from the States, happy 4th of July to you. I don't celebrate it because I'm not from there, but I can certainly appreciate your independence. And have a fantastic 4th of July, everybody. Okay, so I'm going to get beacons, and that's about it. We got taxi lights. I do have a tendency to use my mouse for look still. That'll change over time. There's no ATC. Okay, everything else is done. We don't need that on. We do need cockpit packs. And I think we stick that to low. We should really have low pressure. Okay. Check the map. Runway 23. So you have to go down alpha, it seems. Let's go. So you see I'm using the yoke movement. It popped back up on the screen there, but the yoke moves at the same time to control the rudder. And it works pretty effectively in the Citation. There's no need to reprogram anything. But as I say, in the 737 it's not quite working. I do plan to buy the rudders. I do plan to buy the Honeycomb Bravo yoke quadrant. Sorry, throttle quadrant, which looks just as high quality as this. Actually, one of the things I haven't done is showed you the button there. So it is push to talk. I changed the autopilot disconnect on the right, which is this red button. As you can see, a bit of the yoke. I've changed that to push to talk for X-Pilot. It just makes it a little bit more realistic. Although realistically, you would have the push to talk on the left side and the autopilot disconnect on the left side as well. You can even see it on the Citation X yoke. So the red button there is the autopilot, and then TCS is there as well. Transponder iTent on the right. So I don't. It's a strange design choice. The trim thing is there. That looks like the Honeycomb yoke. So like I said, the Honeycomb matches the Citation jets more than the Boeing jets. So that's why I recommend it if you prefer the smaller planes, especially GA planes like the Cessnas and the Barons, etc. So far, I'm loving it. And you know what? I'm going to recommend it now because I don't have any hesitations in the quality. It makes flying a heck of a lot better. It certainly feels a lot smoother than using an Xbox controller, that's for sure. And they've just released, or they've had a version released not for a while now, which is also for use on the Xbox if you do want to use it. With Microsoft Flight Simulator, for example, it's perfectly acceptable to use on the Xbox as well. So we're taxiing down now at the moment, runway 23. Let's go ahead and give nobody a call on Unicom. Doesn't seem like there's anybody available. And remember, we're VFR today, so I'm not obliged to. I mean, we've got someone there who's probably VFR as well in a small propeller plane. Since we're VFR, we can choose to stay below a certain altitude. They'll probably tell me to check charts, but I'll be honest, I don't subscribe to that stuff. I think it's a bit of a con. And we're going back to the map, flight sim. So it's given us 23,000, we'll probably maintain a lot less than that. Strobes. Seatbelt signs. Landing lights. Ground idles coming off. That's us ready to go. Teesside traffic, Charlie 4 Tango Golf, VFR departure to the south. There's the wind suck, so we've got a nice crosswind. Trying to keep it realistic by avoiding looking at the map. Big airport, Teesside. You've got a whole section over there for cargo. We're going to taxi out nice and quick. You see that smooth movement there because of the yoke as well. We didn't set minimums, radio minimums, but we'll be alright. Barometric minimums, my mistake. Takeoff thrust set. Nice and easy on the yoke. 80 knots. Really smooth actually to handle. V1, rotate. Again, pulling back, you got that resistance there. So gear up. You have to pull back quite considerably to get movement of the aircraft, and that's realistic. The airflow over the elevator is going to cause it to be more difficult to move. I've experienced that as well. I'm sure most pilots have. Even on simulator, it's easy to feel the change in wind and things. Okay, flaps up. I'm going to go to about 8,000 feet. So we are going to be in range of traffic control. Well, actually, no, we're going to be. I think we should stick below 5,000 feet for now. Let's go down. Let's go to 4,000, and then that way we can avoid any traffic. And slats up. There we go. Between 4 and 5,000 feet. And we're going to do a few tests of the aircraft while we follow our flight plan. As you can see, there is a flight plan there, but it's not going to take long. We're here in Teesside in the north, and then I think this is East Midlands, is it? No, that's Leeds. Manchester. Where is East? East Midlands is somewhere down there. Not very far at all. In terms of traffic, that small Cessna or whatever it is, it might be a Piper, is somewhere ahead of us. Just got to keep our eye out for him. Landing lights off. We are pretty much in a situation now where we can do what we want in terms of manoeuvres. I wouldn't recommend doing manoeuvres in the Citation X, including steep turns and stalls at this height, or at all. I don't even know if it's been approved for those things. It probably hasn't. So you need to refer to the airplane flight manual for limitations and required operating procedures. Makes sense, and also contact your FBO if you have any doubts about it. Don't take a simulation. That's why I use sims, isn't it, to practice these things. Okay, so responsive. I'm going to show you a thing here or two. So we're going to reduce that. We're going to do a nice steep descent. So let's push down. You can see. Let's visualize with actual yoke there. So honeycomb yoke pushing forward. Very nice, very responsive, and pushing back. Again, very, very responsive. To the left. Absolutely fine precision engineering in this device. Really is. This is probably one of the best yokes on the market, and you're probably thinking that it's why spend more than on a Boeing yoke. Well, as I mentioned before, this yoke more appropriately suits a wider range of aircraft. It does take up a lot of space on the desk, as I say, but that's a good thing. You want to have a nice, solid, sturdy device. And in terms of leg room, I have got my legs pretty close to the bottom of the clamps, so you might want to just adjust, obviously, your position and seating to make it more comfortable. But if you want to feel like you're in a cockpit, I'd recommend keeping it pretty close to your legs, or knees at least, the yoke, and distance yourself as far back as you need to make it feel like a real cockpit. I'm about 2 feet from the central honeycomb yoke, so yeah, maybe about a foot away from the yoke, so that'll give me enough room to manoeuvre and to move around like a real plane. Okay, so what we're going to do now, we're going to do a 45-degree bank to the right, and we're going to do a 360. So 45 degrees is considerable. We're going to turn that off. We don't need that. Actually, we'll leave it on a reference. This thing's not working though on the side. I'm going to turn 45 degrees, which is 30, and then 45. I think that's 45 degrees there. So there's 10, 20, 30, 45. And this would be a 360 turn. This will test the control column. As you can see though, I'm holding it pretty steady, straight and level, without much input there, and that's really, really useful. Okay, so we're pulling back. Feeling that resistance in the control column. Really having to put some force in there to keep it from descending, using that trim feature. Okay. That's not too bad actually, that's pretty good. You're feeling the resistance there like a real plane. I don't want to use trim too much because that'll take out the realism, but you can use it to ease the burden of pulling back. Not the best steep turn I've done, I'm not going to lie, but we're trying to maintain about 4,000 feet. Handling very well though. I don't feel like I'm going to lose control of the situation. The yoke doesn't feel like it's going to slip out of my hands. There's a good grip on it. Like I say, the material is very hard to distinguish from polymer or rubber type material. It's very, very good, and it's got that grip to it, so you're certainly not going to be... and also it seems to be anti-sweat, so I've not noticed my hands sweating on it, which is fantastic. So yeah, we have a successful almost 180 bank angle almost using the yoke, but we did a 360 45-degree bank angle. Anyway, let's level off, we don't need to do any more. As you can see, we're heading towards the south. Southwest at the moment. Just check on the map, so we did do a 360. And down here, we're going to try and avoid Manchester airspace since we're VFR. We don't want to be flying into any controlled airspace areas. And Manchester's online as well, so you don't want to get in trouble with them. Okay, I'd help you put a transponder on. So you can see us that way. Altitude. Let's head to the East Midlands, avoiding the airspace and using the aircraft's hand-flown device for the meantime. We'll do more flights in the future, of course. That's the plan with the yoke. The intention is to use it on every flight, with the exception of the 737, so I'll probably have to do those flights with a combination of the Express controller and the yoke because of the takeoff and landings. Just to get that precision rudder control until I get a rudder set. Not even touching the controls right now, and we're flying straight and level. That should tell you everything you should know about it. You don't have to keep putting inputs in like the Express controller or perhaps the mouse and keyboard. It has fine, it's fine basically. That could also be the aircraft and the fact that we've not got much headwind there at all. In fact, we've got pretty much no wind. 15, 22, well, we have 15 to 22 knots. You would expect our aircraft to be at least moving up and down a bit more than it is. So yeah, the realism is there. If we do follow our flight plan, it's going to take us, I believe, through Manchester. Yeah, it's taking us to the MCP, which we can probably skip to. Let's do that. Let's follow this and see if we get in trouble, but we shouldn't do as long as we're not in their airspace. So let's go ahead and climb up to our cruising altitude, which was supposed to be about 23,000 feet, which is high up for a VFR flight. Let's do that. Nice deep climb. It's 23,000. Don't be afraid to use the trim. The trim is a little bit difficult to get used to. Especially if you're not accustomed to pushing the hat switch up and down. I think it's called a hat switch. I'm not too sure, to be honest. It's a two-way switch anyway, up or down. I think the hat switch is the one that goes all around for the camera. I'll have to recheck. So if we go into menu, I shouldn't really be pausing when I'm online. We can see there. That's the one for the ailerons and the rudder control trim, and then you've got the, of course, hats. That is a hat switch. So the view one is the hat switch, and then the pitch trim is this. It's actually picking up a little bit now. It's looking too gloomy. We were doing VFR flights. I did one in the Cessna the other day, but it was pretty miserable weather. Just loving these cloud effects though. They've really blown us away with the programming skills at Laminar Research. Let's check FMS so we can follow the flight plan. and 23,000 feet. I know, unlike the other controller I was using, or unlike the keyboard, you will notice the trim is considerably more sensitive, so it takes a lot less trim input on that switch to achieve fine tuning and to achieve, you know, nose down or nose up. So just be aware you don't need to trim quite as much with this yoke as you would with another controller. So apparently you got to transition the MCT. I don't know why. We could have avoided that airspace altogether. And then we're going down south. So I keep looking for the airport. We're going to East Midlands. It's TNT. I don't know if we're going to be transitioning Trent or not. Let's just check. Because of Vigar, TNT, Dipso, Rock Up. It's quite a few quite a distance just yet. Actually, we've got a good 40 miles to get there. Autopilot's coming on. And going off again. It's just completely sent us all over the place. I don't know how to get rid of that. There we go. And we haven't put 23,000 on the vertical navigation. Should be on there. Cruise level. Nope. Not been programmed in. So at the moment, it looks like the yoke is not really doing much because I'm not really putting in money control, so it is a little bit difficult to get used to. I'm not going to lie. You can't just transition to the yoke and expect to get it right. It's like, also, it's not a good idea to use this and then go flying because you'll probably develop bad habits. You probably want to do a bit of flying before you use the yoke, and I don't mean sim flying either. You know, and those bad habits to transition to real life, which is probably more likely using one of these things. So definitely don't take this as, you know, gospel. Almost at 22,000. Looking really good at this height. I got the perfect altitude. Probably turn the APU off at this point. Let's get the APU off. 1,000 feet to go. One of the features that was missing from the C560XL, one of the poorest planes available as an add-on, was the fact that it doesn't function. Anyway, we're not talking about that in this, we're talking about the Citation and the fantastic Honeycomb Aeronautical Yoke. Highly recommend it. By the way, I ordered it and the product came literally overnight. Not even kidding, it got there like the next morning, so it took less than 24 hours to get here. In fact, it probably took, realistically, it took less than 12 hours. So, fantastic. There's 23,000 feet. We're going to level off. All hand flying today. Just to show you the functionality. And at the moment, I'm just using trim. I'm not even using the pitch function. I'm just trimming the aircraft into place here. I'm using pitch when it goes up a little bit, but not much. As you can see, trimming, and it's doing the job absolutely perfectly. Don't forget, without the throttles or the rudder, you're going to have to use the keyboard with it, because there's no, unless you reprogram one of the buttons, there's no option for controlling the throttle, which is absolutely fine. Fine with me, at least. Okay, we're in Manchester airspace. Manchester's got people in there. We are going to TNT, so we'll have to just keep our eyes peeled on the way. Birmingham there. East Midlands quite a way out the way actually for a, there it is, East Midlands. Quite a way out the way for us. Good chance to practice the descent again. You'll feel that resistance. Can't just simply push the air away from the elevator, so it's got that built in. And of course, if you have a runaway trim, as Austin Meyer pointed out in his brilliant video with the Honeycomb Yoke, of course, if you have the runaway trim, you can pull back, so you can push forward, but usually you can't pull up. So in other words, if it trims up, you can usually push down, but if it trims nose down, in a runaway situation, you usually can't pull up and correct it, but you never know, there might be somebody out there who can. Okay, we're a bit all over the place, so we're not really cruising as I thought we would be. We seem to be doing a lot worse. And rain, of course. England and rain go hand in hand. So for the overall score, I think the look of it is a 5 out of 5, hands down. The look and the feel of it is 100% 5 star. Quality 5-star materials. It just feels fantastic. It really does feel like a Citation Yoke or something. Actually, I'd say it feels a lot better. As you can see, the yoke here looks more like plastic, and they are in real life. They're not that comfortable to hold. I'm not going to lie, they feel like plastic, and they usually are made out of some kind of poly material. But this one's got a nice covering on it. This is almost like a personalised yoke. Like you get personalised bowling balls, you get personalised yoke as well. 5-star on that. Performance 5-star, but then you've got the issues of the other aircraft. So with the exception of the switches, the performance is also 5-star. The switches don't function on all aircraft, which to me doesn't matter too much, because I know pre-programming it for the Cessna would make more sense, and actually it makes the Cessna a lot more enjoyable to fly. In the other aircraft though, you would be expected to use, I guess, more. There must be a way to program it to those citation switches, so the beacon lights, pushing the button, nothing happens. So I haven't been able to program that in or figure it out. Maybe someone can help me out in the chat. Anyway, there's MCT, so we're going direct to TNT. Yeah, so 5-star on performance. The lighting's pretty good. The option to turn it up or down, you have 5 options for lights in terms of brightness. It's a red colour and then like a honeycomb shape, hollow shape that is, so it must be for allowing airflow, but the unit itself is not warmed up at all. It's very cool, as would be expected, I guess. It's plugged in via USB, so you have to plug it in to your main computer stack for a USB port, and then you plug the yoke into the main console, if that makes sense. Not your PC console, but the main Honeycomb Aeronautical Yoke console, so the main box. Even though the yoke comes out of it, it's not connected internally unless you connect it via that wire. Just be aware of that. And you can customize the buttons like I have to some extent. Anyway, let's monitor the ATCs. We don't seem to have anybody online who can help us at the moment. We've got people at Manchester we could have talked to, but we're not too concerned about Manchester at the moment. We're leaving their airspace, and then East Midlands has got its own airspace, and we'll be able to test it. I'm going to do a touch and go. Maybe we should do a touch and go actually, and we'll do a go around. In fact, we'll do a go around and then we'll do a touch and go as well, and then we'll do a full stop landing, and that'll give us plenty of time to test it out. Set the autopilot on, let's see if it'll work. Nope, still playing silly games, this autopilot. I think it'd be leveling off at 23,000, but it's just not doing anything. One of the first times I struggled with it on the with the use of the Honeycomb Yoke, I have to say. So we select altitude, and we select 23,000, and we select autopilot. It should stop at 23,000 feet. One more try. Let's select flight level change and see if that works. Okay, so a little bit better. A little bit better on the control. half bank on as well. Since we're very close to the airport, you turn the landing lights? Yeah, we did. Good God, what was that? Well, just start again, but I'll be back in a minute. I'm just going to take a quick drink break and leave you in the reign of the United Kingdom. 1 minute. Captain has returned. If you are here, welcome in. I really hope you've had another good week, and I hope you've all enjoyed the content. I really enjoyed the people being coming in to the live streams and the people who are watching and commenting. I won't call you out, but thank you very much for your comments and just the compliments of my flying, because I know sometimes it appears good, but a lot of times it's not where I want it to be. You think after 20 years of, of 20 years of simming, and it is 20 years I think, not constantly, but you know, just there in the background, occasionally dropping off for a while, you'd think I'd be pretty much proficient, but I'm still learning stuff. Okay, so I think we're circling the airport. Excuse me, I'm very rude today. I'm eating chocolate when I'm streaming. Okay, I'm gonna go down. You're going to be able to hear how, or see, sorry, how brilliant this yoke is. I was practicing descending yesterday, and I'm not kidding, I had it trimmed, probably like it is now, a little bit better, and it was just going down so smooth, compared to when I was using my other controller. There was less input, there was less need to trim it. It was a little bit difficult to trim it at first, but like now, it's a heck of a lot better on the handling. Again, this is the Citation X for you as well. I don't even think it's necessarily the Honeycomb Yoke. The Honeycomb Yoke just complements the systems of this aircraft so well. So you should be able to handle it, I'd say, a lot better than you would if you were using a mouse and keyboard. If you're looking for that high quality yoke and you're looking for something that's going to satisfy your sim, you know, aviation enthusiast mindset, then go for it. It's I put the link in the description for the site I bought it for. It's got a EU site, so it'll be a Honeycomb EU or Fly Honeycomb EU, and you can go and get it from them direct, which is how I got it. It got here in less than 24 hours. It got here less than that, which is really quite incredible when you think about it. I ordered it about 2 p.m. worried about when it's going to arrive in case it's going to be out, and then all of a sudden it got here the next day at 10 a.m. in the morning. So really impressive there from the Honeycomb team delivery system. It was delivered in the United Kingdom by somebody called DPT, I think it was. But again, they handled it pretty well. Yeah, so this year, of course, you all know about Flight Simulator Expo. That should be pretty good. I don't really know where that is, but it would be fantastic to go to and see all the planes and all the equipment and things, and no doubt Honeycomb are going to be there, and if they are, my advice is to grab the gear while it's there if they can do, because they sell it for a prop. They're selling it for their price, not for a commission. So yeah, if you go to a third party like Amazon, for example, you're going to pay more because you're paying through another company. Anyway, going back to the Flight Sim Expo, I should really go and find it. It's saying it's okay, saying Honeycomb Aeronautical is going to be a diamond sponsor of the Flight Sim Expo 2025. Which is the biggest event, and it's in fact in the USA, so I don't think I'll be going to that, but I've missed it anyway. It's the June the 27th to the 29th. Quite pricey as well to get in, up to $100 for an entry ticket. Anyway, that looks fantastic. I'm not in the US, but the US have no doubt had a great time. There's some fantastic streamers and creators out there who are there, and I really like their videos. Super funny, some of them are so in depth as well, so go and you'll be able to find it if you just put Flight Simulator Expo 2025 and type in Honeycomb Aeronautical Flight Sim Expo, and it should come up with any new products they have available. Right, 1 hour, so we're over the airport. I hope we're not strayed too much in that thought. There's the airport. So see, look how smooth that arc is there. I'm not even touching the controls, and the yoke is allowing me to fly this like steady route. We're landing runway 27. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a right and left hand turn whilst descending, and we're going to go down to runway 27 for a go round. I'm going to set the go round height to about 3,000 feet. At these lower speeds though, there's definitely better control of the aircraft compared to my Xbox controller. There's definitely that feeling of flying a jet, that's for sure. And the cool thing about Citation X is, I didn't even realise, but you can pop out this FMC and the radio stack. I didn't even know you could do that, but that's just a fantastic feature, isn't it, from Laminar Research. Flaps 5. We're descending down at a good rate here, at 3,000 feet a minute. Seatbelt signs, and we don't turn the lights on until we're below 10,000 feet. Usually you'd get the APU on below 10,000 as well, but I think because we're planning to do Actually, then again, we'll follow the procedure. We'll do the checklist. But since we're doing a go around, we probably don't need to. And it's a planned go around, which is completely fine. You're allowed to do that. You know, it's a real life thing you can do.
Altitude knob.
Co-pilot's going to help us out. We set that.
Set to cleared alt. Vertical navigation mode.
Right, I'm going to just skip ahead. Let's just assume we know what we're doing. We do know. Got the approach switch selected. APU can come on below 10,000, so we can skip most of that. We just need to set the barometric minimums. Radio minimums 200 feet. I'm going to switch the APU on a little bit early just because we're doing a bit more than usual on this approach. And with the yoke, it's still fairly new to me, so I'm still understanding the flight dynamics. Remember, with a yoke, you are going to feel those flight forces and forces on the aircraft a lot easier. So you'll be able to feel the effect of the lift and the drag, and the you know, the wings, the airflow over the wings as well. You'll be able to feel over the elevators, etc., etc. Okay, we're straying way off from Midlands, but it gives us enough time. We're not in the airspace.
Bank angle.
Let's just tune the ADF. At least we avoid airspace. We did just accidentally onto Leicester, but I think that's Leicester. Yeah, it's more like a GA airport. Again, the smoothness of this compared to the other controller is just mind-blowing. It really is. Master caution, what's that for? Maybe because the APU's just kicked on. So you notice with the APU you usually get a fuel boost onto the left side. Should be turning the auxiliary pump off. And there's not really any way to get rid of that. You can always just turn it on. And then turn it back to normal, but it won't do much. We see we've done quite the snake of a flight plan there. Oh well, we'll give them a call in a sec. We don't need an ILS, although we can tune it in. Let's go ahead and tune it in and just make it a little bit easier for our approach. We'll still be hand flying it. Thank goodness we're below the cloud level today. There we go. I'm soaring across the sky. Incredible. The exact same scenery just pasted. When I see scenery like that just pasted with such good visibility, it just does sadden me a little bit. Laminar could just use real world scenery by, you know, they could get satellite imagery and make it so much better. And I don't think it would detract from the game at all. I don't think it would impact the frame rate. In fact, since the 12.2 release, the frame rate and things has been better. It has been better, and the processing seems to be better. So they seem to have done something to improve the processing, and I believe it is that they've simply prioritized small tasks. So the game is going to process small things first and therefore it's going to speed the time up and make it more effective on your computer, basically, and make it run smoother. So I can definitely feel that. Right, let's get navigation on. We're going to phone, so we're going to follow this for the ILS, even though we're doing a hand-flown approach. Runway 27. It's already lined up. I'm going to follow the thing down here. We can use the map, but I mean, it's right there, the airport. Echo Golf November X-ray. We're about 6,000 feet. East Midlands traffic, Charlie 4 Tango Golf. Descending through 6,000 for runway 27. I feel like we're going to be doing a lot of radio call outs on Unicom here with the go arounds and with the touch and goes. It's so much better with a controller because that it can give us like left or right for the pattern. You know, we fly in left pattern or right pattern. For the sake of keeping it simple though, we're going to fly left pattern. Sorry, a right pattern, and then we can. So we're going in, going round, coming in for another touch and go, then going round, and then we'll land, and that'll give us plenty of time to practice with the yoke. Should have visual of the runway soon, the airport. You see the green arrow is straightening up there, so we're going to use that as a reference. Still about 4,000 feet. When we go down to 3,000, we'll just level off about 3,000. Okay, there's the runway. Not quite off. Nice challenging approach here. We've got some strong winds actually. We've got 19 degrees at 19 knots over there. So it must be gusts up to 19. 19 here as well. This is going to be an interesting one coming in from the south. Just keep an eye on the runway. Straight ahead of us. $15 degrees of flaps. Let's begin to slow down a bit more, and we're going to descend towards the runway. Good thing is now I can use the mouse for the gear until I get a throttle quadrant. Again, it'll set you back more than the Boeing yoke and the throttle, but if you want high quality, go for the Honeycomb. Not saying that the Boeing one isn't high quality, but you know, the price is going to be reflecting their quality. So don't expect it cheap. East Midlands traffic, Charlie 4 Tango Golf. Final runway 27. Okay, just bearing in mind not to descend too quickly. Still about 156. I've not got any re-ref on there at the moment. We can quickly calculate it on the performance. It's giving us 128. And then it'll pop up on there for the reference, so that's pretty good. And 15 degrees of flaps. Since we're going to be doing a go round, we're going to make an effort to not touch down, so usually that would be a touch and go, but if we don't touch down, it will go around. Okay, seatbelts, flaps, landing lights, gear down, clear to land. Two Tom jets. I think Tom is TUI. I usually call it TUI anyway. Thomson Airways, TUI Airlines. Feedback on this raid descent upon landing and things would be great as well. So if you're watching streams and you want to review me and feedback and things, then check that. And if it's crap, let me know. If it's good, let me know as well. Tell me what you think. Can you do any better? I'd like to do a co-pilot. I'd like to fly as a co-pilot in Citation X online. So maybe we can find someone who can pair up with me, and we'll do that through shared cockpit on VATSIM. So we probably are going to go around just because we're too low. This is a pretty good time to... we're way far off, but we'll probably be go around at this point. Like at this exact point, because we're way too low, but I'm going to leave it until we get to the runway. We're not quite established because we're too low down. And remember, when you put the thrust in on the go round, don't retract the flaps too quickly, so we'll only retract it to 15 and do it pretty slowly. After if you retract the flaps in one go, you'll lose altitude and you'll probably end up stalling. Wait till the speed builds up and then retract the flaps. Not looking too bad actually. We're on course here for 2 white and 2 red. Keep the thrust nice and high. Yeah. So probably got something to do with the wind as well. 20 knots. Just about 20 knots coming from the south.
500.
Speed is looking good.
100.
Okay. It's tricky. Not gonna lie, I'm tempted to land this. It's actually looking like a decent approach. Yoke is very responsive as well. Going in one hander, of course. I don't want to develop bad habits.
Minimums.
Not continuing, so we're going to go around. There's minimums. Let's take off thrust. Just wait a second. Wait for that positive rate of climb. Positive rate of climb, gear up. Retract 1 notch of flaps. Remember to fly the aircraft first before you give a call out. Don't pitch up too steeply. See, we've retracted it and they're not sunk, so that's important. Never retract the gear of the flaps unless you've got a positive rate of climb. Okay, flaps to 5. Back up to 3,000 feet. You don't need much thrust on this. And we're going to leave 5 notch of flaps. We won't retract the wall. East Midlands traffic, Charlie 4 Tango Golf, going around, runway 27. And we'll make right downwind, runway 27 again. The touch and go. So then we're going to be over 3,000 feet. That's why it's important to pay attention. Standard 15 degree bank, sorry, 25 degree bank for the turn. We go to navigation, we can tune the ILS in. Don't need it though, we don't need to tune it on the FMC, I know where we're going. But it will take us straight in.
Bank angle.
25-degree bank at the absolute most. We're going to maintain about this speed, so less, trying to avoid over 220 with 5 degrees of flaps, or 230. We want to be going in the opposite direction to that arrow for that downwind, and then we'll make base and leg and then final. Keeping those landing lights on, keeping everything on as it is. Okay, so we look at the right hand side, yeah, there's the airport. We can cross check that we're downwind.
Tom Jet 9002, push back side from gate 12, East Midlands.
Fantastic. I'll have to call late downwind here, and we'll do a downwind check. So I'm doing this like a smaller aircraft, but it's the same. And you know, if you've done in the small planes, it's the same in the big ones. If you're downwind, you do downwind checks, so land lights, flaps, gear down, etc., and give that ATC call. That's in my experience. East Midlands traffic, Charlie 4 Tango Golf, downwind for touch and go, runway 27. Okay, so this time we are going to do a deliberate touch and go, so this time we are going to be touching down on the ground. You'll notice when I go around we didn't need to do that. This time we do though. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to that. And, well, it's gone off, but we're going to go from there to there and downwind, so slow our speed down. Descend down a bit more. Flaps. Wait till below 210. Flaps to 15. Gear down. Just allow that speed to decrease. We've given our downwind call. There we go, we're late downwind now, so it's turn. I wonder what they think of me doing all these go rounds and touch and goes. Oh well. This is turning into a bit of a circuit stream at the moment. See, I'm checking the map a lot. We should really check visual. We are VFR today. There's the runway. So I think we're doing alright on our turn. Base leg turn. I'm going to do full flaps. Touch and go. Reduce that speed a little bit more. Just keep descending as we turn to final. It's hard to see it without going in the co-pilot seat. There it is. And of course, adjust the bank depending on where the airport is. So we're a little bit off. We are facing directly into that 20 knot wind as well. Just something to be aware of. The runway. East Midlands traffic, Charlie 4 Tango Golf, turning final, runway 27 for a touch and go. Be a little bit more precise here because we're not going around deliberately, so we want to make sure we're doing it relatively good. The yoke so far has been performing above expectations. It's certainly making the flying more enjoyable. I'm easily going to be able to use this on every flight, regardless of a few braking and throttle issues, but I don't mind using the throttle on the keyboard. I can just lean forward a little bit.
1000, light slope.
Below glide slope and we're off course. So you'll notice the yellow arrow there and the green circle and things. That would be a reference for speed. Are we on speed? Target for the right speed, or we're going too fast or too slow. So we're on the ILS. We've intercepted it pretty well. You notice if I reduce the thrust, still going a little bit too fast. And when we go down to the ground, a touch and go, we will do the same thing again. We touch down, we're going to increase the thrust to max. We're going to retract flaps to 15, we're going to take off again with 15 degrees until we've established a positive rate, and then we'll retract them to 5, along with the gear as well.
Flight slow.
Tomjet 9002 taxiing to runway 27 via Charlie Romeo Alpha to holding point Alpha 1 for Tomjet 9022 East Midlands.
Fantastic, it's good to hear people on the ATC.
Minimums.
Well, we're going to continue for now. We're doing a touch and go, so we know where. It's very hard though, that headwind at 20 knots, pushing our speed down.
50. 40.
Yeah, reduce that thrust.
So we've got a slight problem, so I'll be holding at
10.
Charlie.
Oh, hard touch down there. And then we've lost. Whoa, have we lost one of the landing gears? And back up again. Really unprofessional touch and go that was. Oh my goodness. What's going on with the gears? Gear looks alright, but we touched down and the gear looked like it was sinking into the ground. Anyway, flaps have been took up, 15, gears up. That was a terrible touch and go. Nothing to do with the yoke. I touched down and the right wheel sank into the ground, it felt like. Really hard slam down, so let's reduce that. Trim for about 3,000 feet.
Charlie X-ray taxiing runway 27 via Quebec Alpha 1.
Okay, there's 3,000, let's maintain that. We're going to go downwind for a full stop landing.
Birmingham traffic, K1 27 Juliet, short final runway 33.
Fantastic. This is a good speed, 5 degrees of flap still. I'm doing that 10 degrees bank, sorry 20 degrees bank for the turn. This will give us a bit of a wider circuit, but it'll make sure we have sufficient time to get down again. Controls really responsive, as you can see there. I will do a stream actually where we do circuits. I won't do them in the well, I'll do them in a Citation, and I'll do one in maybe a Baron or a Cessna. That might be a bit interesting. 1 hour 22 for the stream, so we'll be touching here and then we'll be ending. It's only been a short stream, just to give you an overview of the yoke, but it's 5-star materials and performance. Highly recommend it actually. It's just so much more realistic than most of them out there. It really is. It's like this is a market leader in its design. Extremely sophisticated device. Doesn't look it, but it is. So there's the wider circuit anyway, and then we're going to go downwind. We'll call it late downwind for a full stop runway 27. $126. I'm going to extend the downwind leg. We're a bigger aircraft. If we're in a 737, for example, we would also extend the downwind. I guess we can do it in the Citation just because we've got a bit more time. We've got plenty of fuel on board. Downwind checks, reduce that speed, and give them a call. East Midlands traffic, Charlie 4 Tango Golf, late downwind for runway 27, full stop landing. Okay, there we are, late downwind, runway 27, full stop. So, reduce that speed. Let's allow the plane to descend as we turn onto base, and we're going to drop 15 degrees of flaps to increase that drag. Be aware you have to put in pressure on the yoke so you don't start ascending when you add flaps in, which is more than realistic, to be honest. So there we are, late downwind, turning on base leg. And hopefully Tom Jet can take off before we get onto final. Now because of the speed, I'm not going to use the V-speed reference. 126 is probably going to be too slow with a 20 knots headwind.
Taking off runway 27, tapping 1 November departure, Aqua 1 November departure, sorry.
Okay, he's departing, fantastic. We can stick our gear down, we are within 5 nautical miles, I think. Or might wait till final this time, it gives a bit more control on the approach. You see that, keep an eye on the runway. Bring that speed down, so I'll go in about 140. And turn final. A bit hard to see out the window, I'm going to lie, very hard. I have to switch to the co-pilot a lot. When I get the yoke, throttle, sorry, the Honeycomb Bravo, the yoke is called the Alpha, the Bravo is the throttle, and the Charlie is the rudder. We should have better control over the aircraft. Okay, so we did turn pretty much on to final, so we're going to stick our gear down. East Midlands traffic, Charlie 4 Tango Golf is final, runway 27. Now hopefully that jet's... Yep, hopefully he's going to be clear of the runway by the time we touch down. And just see him there taking off. And we want full flaps.
Charlie X, clear runway 27, climb 1000 for flight level 90, last call East Midlands.
Fantastic, some really good ATC at this airport today. Not usually this busy on VATSIM. Not on the Unicom anyway. Full stop landing, so we've done a go around, we did a touch and go, and now we'll do a full stop East Midlands Airport. See, that thrust is high, 60%. I'm still struggling to maintain speed. Using the trim, but it's that headwind again. Varying up to 20 knots it looks like. From the left side of us. So the gear doesn't slam down, we've got 3 green lights. Gear looks fine on the outside.
Light slow. 500. Light slow.
Okay, we're below the glide slope, that wind's pushing us all over.
Light slow. 400. Light slow.
Probably going to continue this regardless.
300.
300 feet.
Minimums.
Continuing.
Light slow.
Not the best approach.
100.
Probably the first one was the best, I think. Alright, yoke is difficult to start with, so let's...
20.
Okay, rocking all over here. 10 feet. And spoilers. No rudder control. We have lost all rudder control.
Subjet 9002 ready to taxi, return runway 7 by Charlie, Rome.
Okay, we're going to disconnect from VATSIM. So one of the things that I've noticed on the yoke is, as you can see, that's why we've had issues touching down. We've just gone to the taxiway conveniently, but the yoke is now no longer controlling the rudder like it did on takeoff. So I don't know why it's doing that. And then you go back here and you go on to calibrate. So we do the ailerons, pitch. Now you'll see when we calibrated it that the rudder control will come back again. Now, I didn't have this issue yesterday, I'm not going to lie, and it's also not working again, so there's something going on here. Although again, it didn't work, it didn't do it yesterday, it's just a shame it's just started. I don't know what would cause it, to be honest, I'm not sure. Calibration wise, I just recalibrated, maybe because we changed one of the buttons. Complete loss of control on the rudder, so I think that's a downside, even though it's good to fly with the rudder control just suddenly dysfunctions, which makes it, you know, a little bit unrealistic in that sense. Let's call the engines off. We'll stop here. We have disconnected from VATSIM. I'm going to switch to the Baron now, so I appreciate anyone watching. If you know what's causing the rudder control to be lost on the yoke, let me know. As far as I'm aware, it shouldn't be doing that. I've switched back to the user profile. There's nothing. The only option I think is reset to default. And even that's not doing it. In fact, we've lost all control of the aircraft at this point. There we go. Okay, so now we've reset. That's how you fix it. So if you can't turn your rudder, you have to go back to reset to defaults. I don't know why it would affect it, but it has on landing, so it works on takeoff, and then when you land it doesn't, and then you have to calibrate. Anyway, we'll switch to the Baron. Pray to God it doesn't happen. Obviously the most obvious way to get rid of that is to just get the rudder, and at least then you don't have to worry about, you know, whether it's going to work or not. If you are enjoying this, you want to see the yoke in action for real, this is pretty much in action for real, but on a camera, then I will try and get a camera set up some way or another. I don't really know how to on Prism software. A shame about the rudder. It's going to cost you a couple of £100 to get the yoke, throttle and the rudder all together. Well, I'm sure if you enjoy it, you'll get the most out of it. So we're going to switch into the Baron, and we're going to spawn in to Echo Golf. Let's go to Land's End. Really unpopular stream this is. I mean, people are obviously just not interested in yokes as I thought it would be. My other streams have had more people in it and had way more views, but this one's not pulling in anyone. So it's unfortunate really. A Honeycomb Yoke is one of the best on the market. Okay, we're at Land's End. If you know anything about UK, Land's End is like the most southerly point of the United Kingdom. So yeah, we got nice rudder control on this. No need to put the push to talk button on. We are going to check the brakes. As you see, do nothing. We're going to check that to brakes. So brake, auto brake. We want hold brakes regular. We're in the helicopter space. Nice airport actually. We should have flown down here. Quick start, no messing around. Actually, one of the things that you can do in the Baron, as I say, the Cessna and the Baron do work. The yoke works on the button function, so no need for me to touch them, but you'll see them change. So battery comes on, and beacons, taxi lights. Now with the magnetos, one works and the other one doesn't, so I don't think it's been programmed for a multi-engine aircraft. I've tried to find the engine starter option on this list and change it from one engine to two engines. So magnetos both for engine 1. What that needs to be, and this is an explained thing, because there's no option here for two engines, but it needs to give you the option for multi-engine aircraft. So magnetos both for both engines should 100% be an option on there. So maybe I'm not hopeful Laminar's going to change these things, but you know, maybe they will in the future, in a future update. It's unlikely they're going to update this game again. They'll just release another one. Probably won't add much to it and charge the same price. So anyway, it says Magneto's multi here, but again, it doesn't really do much. There's no option for both engines, which is a shame. If you go onto here, you can select Magneto's both, and then both for engine 2 possibly, but you can't have two functions on at once. So you can't have 1 and 2 on the same choice. Anyway, we'll do it manually ourselves. You do have to do the mixture until we get the throttle. The throttle quadrant will include multi-engine capacity, but not magneto capacity. And we'll use... So the starter on the Honeycomb is also a little bit unrealistic, because you turn from both to start, and anyone who's flown a plane will know that in aircraft with magneto switches, it won't stay on start, it will slip back into both. But on the Honeycomb Yoke, it stays on start, which is not realistic. Anyway, alternator function was working actually. I did have it programmed on for both, so magneto's generators off for both engines. Generators off. There was an option here, and I did get it to work for both, and now for some reason it's only working on one engine. Maybe it was... Oh yeah, generators all toggle, and you'll notice there that it you have to select it for both. So select it there as well. Generators all toggle, so that it works on generators. You can have both on there, so on or off, and then it'll do 2, which is fantastic, but not for the magnetos. Anyway, avionics does work. We need to do props, sync ourselves, taxi lights, pretty much sorted. Oh, and of course alternators on. Flight control check. You'll notice in the Baron, even though we got 180 degrees on the yoke, Honeycomb Yoke, it doesn't do it in the Baron, because the aircraft's not really designed for those kind of turns. Here we go. Taxiing out. No VATSing for this, we're just going to do a circuit or two to check the functionality. Has it saved? Yes, has saved it. I'll show you the rudder dysfunction as well. So there's a few things about the yoke that this thing about the rudder at the back and the rudder control suddenly switching off on the planes. So suddenly switching off is an issue, and then you have this issue of when you're in flight, this rudder will just be doing that all the time. That was me doing it then, but in flight there should be no reason for it to happen. So hopefully we've got rid of that issue through resetting the calibrations. Nice propeller airplane. They should have included that with the default game. Looks like an ATR or something. Yeah, Land's End. Literally on the most southerly point of the UK. Down in the southeast. Let's get the QNH 1029, so it's very warm. High pressure. Hot weather. 1029, don't need anything else. We've got transponders on. Very small runway. There's no disconnection coming from the yoke, so it's not like I've disconnected it and it suddenly stopped working on the rudder. That must just be... that's got to be a programming issue, and there doesn't seem to be many ways of programming the switches to the Citation X or the other planes either, so it seems to be entirely specifically integrated for the Cessna 172. That's fine. And probably some other payware propeller aircraft as long as it's single engine. Okay, so taxi lights. I'll show you them working in real life. So landing lights coming on. They've saved it on this. It's saved it for both. Taxi lights off. I'll stick the panel lights on. And we'll stick the nav lights as well, just because we're doing a little local flight. Full thrust, relatively good control on takeoff. Not needing much input there. Whoa, we're lifting off way too early though. Way too early on that lift off. And there's that rudder issue, so you see it shaking about. Let's get the gear up. It's kind of annoying, I don't know why it does it. I'm guessing the only way to get rid of it would be to use rudder pedals. I keep saying it, but it's like... it's a shame that it's done this when I could use the Xbox controller and it wouldn't. It shakes the plane about. Let's get the flaps. No, we never use flaps. As you can see there, there's a silly... a really silly, like, shaking of the rudder. It only does it on the Baron, and a little bit on the Cessna 172, but it doesn't do it on the bigger jets like the Citation or, you know, the other plane. That even the 737 it doesn't do it on. But I'm not moving the controller at all, and it's like shaking all over the place. And I've got no control of it, so I don't know what that is. I really don't. It's hard to believe we're in England still. We're literally right at the southern point. And then when you go back in, you can see the plane shaking around. So it really, like usually plane shaking is alright, but that makes it a little bit more unrealistic, I think. Well, there's not really any way to get rid of it. Okay, let's reduce the thrust and things. The manifold pressure in the propellers. Try and avoid the cloud level for now. Go around for touch and go. So I don't know if anybody knows how to change it. I'm not going to be bothered to look it up online. But just to keep that rudder control under control in the propeller aircraft would be fantastic. The single prop aircraft, and in fact, even the Baron, when I was using the Xbox controller, had like a steady rudder control. It wouldn't be shaking all over the place. So the only thing I can think of is that I would need to program the rudder control to a rudder pedal, and then it would move. It wouldn't move, maybe that's why. Or perhaps plug the Xbox controller back in. But then again, you can't use two controllers at the same time, so you've still got that to contend with. Anyway, relatively short flights. We'll keep the landing lights on. We're going to go down. Practice touch and go, so let's reduce that thrust. Manifold pressure. Approach flaps. There's the runways. 2 runways. In fact, we got that one just behind us we could land on. Let's try that. Real steep 30-degree back turn. Don't forget the trim this aircraft is going to be more effective than a small one. Gear down, of course. There's the runway. And we can't crab, of course, because we haven't got the rudder control. Usually it would be synced between the yoke and the rudder, so it wouldn't do this shaking. Yeah, usually it'd be programmed to sync up and at least provide some sense of yaw damper. Even with the yaw damper on, it doesn't tend to help. Anyway, we're going to go down, do touch and go, and then we'll come back up and do a full stop landing. I can tolerate the shaking, it's not the worst thing I've experienced, but it would be nice not to have it there. Obviously using the X plus controller will get rid of it. We're about to kill ourselves. Oh no. We just broke the fence at Land's End. And we're going to go around again. Very bumpy runway here. One notch of flaps up. And rotate. Very small runway. We use the shortest runway possible actually there. We seem like one of the few aircraft that uses this. We'll have to do a lands down to so most southerly point of the UK up to the most northerly point of the UK, and that'd be a long flight if it was in a Baron. Maybe we'll do it in a faster aircraft. Control is generally good, it's just my flying that's all over the place. Keep approach flaps down. We've got navigation. I'm going to turn the nav lights off, and you can see if we're going to external view, the strobe lights and the nav lights function. You can just about see them illuminate according to what buttons I press. Landing lights are of course not best on X-Plane 12, especially on the propeller aircraft, but they are on. You can barely see them in the light. So yeah, it depends on X-Plane 12 what angle you're in. But they're functional, as you can see, on and off. Probably looking at the price on Amazon. I looked at the UK price, was coming about 300 for the Honeycomb Yoke, which is absolutely ridiculous. And then you go on the Honeycomb website EU, and you save yourself a heck of a lot of money. I mean, it's considerably cheaper. You could save up to 50% just going onto their website. And I'm not talking about discounts, I'm just talking about the fact that Amazon puts it up so much compared to the manufacturer, which is ridiculous, really, isn't it? Anyway, let's get touched down where the runway is. Oh, there's the runway off to the left, we've missed it. Gear down. So the views are... I'm not going to lie, the views are very strange when using the yoke. This is too high up for an approach. Let's go ahead and try it. Anyway, let's get full throttle forward, so straight in. And we'll pull up and have a cup of tea, and I'll give my final thoughts on the Honeycomb Aeronautical Yoke. Once again, damaging the fence here at Land's End. Ooh, and also our tyres. Okay, so the rudder control is in fact working on this when we touch down. There's got to be a bug in there with the bigger jets. We touch down and we stop pretty quick using the yokes button there for the brakes. Taxi lights, landing lights off. So let's go in, let's pay our landing fees and circuit fees. Let's pay for the damage to the both fences. We got to pay for maintenance to the Beechcraft Baron. We've just this is not my plane, by the way, it's rented, so we've got to pay for the insurance now. And just because we've pretty much spent £1,000 just doing that flight just there, 2 minutes, we're going to cause a little bit more damage. So here we go. Let's really get our money's worth. And one of the cool features now about X-Plane 12, they've added more open hangars, I've noticed, into the airports. So you can now taxi and park into the hangars, which is fairly new. So let's go and switch the lights off. Let's use the yoke's controls to do what we can. Alternators. Again, we have to do one of the magnetos ourselves, but it's not an issue. I think, for final thoughts, nice parking as well there in the hangar for the maintenance. But yeah, overall thoughts, I like it a lot. If you can get over the rudder issues and the fact you have to use the throttle on your keyboard still, it's a great yoke. It's a 5-star yoke. You should go and buy it from Honeycomb Aeronautical. I actually recommend this one over the Boeing yoke because it looks more like a G8 yoke and a private jet yoke compared to an airliner's. It definitely applies to more smaller planes, and it's useful for practicing realistic flying. It feels like a real yoke. I've never seen an airline yoke that looks like this, but it looks very, very nice. So if you're into the corporate jets, if you do fly corporate jets, you'll appreciate the time and the effort they've put into this and the quality of the materials. So thank you everyone for watching, and I will return. We'll do more flights in the future with the yoke, and hopefully I'll get the throttles and the rudder pedals to go with it, which will make it a full setup. The picture's there on the left hand side. It's on the desk. It just takes up a lot of room, so you might need to adjust it. So yeah, thank you for watching. I know there's not many people here, but see you again. Probably do a flight over the weekend. Take care. Bye.